Those of you who have been watching this channel for a while know that when I'm not recording episodes for the channel, I'm working with my prog rock band. For the last 8 years, I've been the bass player and the de facto manager of a prog rock band that operates in the greater New Jersey and Philadelphia area called Legion of Prague. Legion has been a great experience for all of us. We enjoy each other's company, we enjoy each other's music, and over the course of the last several years, our profile has grown to where we're able to play some great venues, both large cabarets and small theaters in our area, where we're able to be reasonably well compensated for our work. It's been an interesting ride to get there, though. A lot has happened over the course of the last 8 years. In this episode, I wanted to give my list of 7 tips of what it takes to be a reasonably successful progressive rock band in the current day. Remember, the glory days of progressive rock were 50 years ago. Things have changed over time. If you're going to be looking to play this music for audiences in this time frame, you're going to have to roll with the punches a bit. Tip number 1 is to find like-minded individuals to do the work with. This probably goes without saying, but ideally you'll want to find people who are a good fit personally, a good fit professionally, which is to say that people will all have the time to invest in working together on the music, and hopefully people will all be looking to achieve the same goals. Those of you who are musicians in the viewing audience know that prog rock is not an easy style of music to play. And if you're getting together a band only for purposes of socializing, maybe playing in the garage, you might be more interested or feel more successful if you take on music that isn't quite as challenging. This is not to say that you shouldn't play it if you want to, but being realistic is probably a smart thing out of the gate. We've had situations in our band where people's participation has been limited either by their lack of ability to work on the music or to practice because of professional or business obligations. In some cases, people have had the desire to do the music, but not quite the ability. And if someone is a good friend, you may be willing to work with that and tailor the music to where it fits for everyone. But there's always going to be people in the audience, especially people who love this music, who will be listening for their favorite guitar part, keyboard part, or bass part. And they'll let you know if what you're playing isn't authentic. They're not being rude by letting you know that. It's more that they're probably wanting to help. But in any event, be prepared that if you make those types of modifications, that you will hear some feedback from your audience. Tip number 2, be prepared to work, and work hard. This music does not come easy. It requires significant work to play it and play it well, and it also requires work not only on your own to practice prior to rehearsals, but in particular when the band is first starting out, working together with your bandmates at rehearsal is really important in order to make sure that you gel properly, that you are understanding the cues that each of you will put in place or that the song requires that you put in place. In this music are many signature parts that just have to be played correctly for the song to work. So expect that you're going to be putting in some time. We recently had a conversation about this within our band. Legion recently took on a new guitarist, and before he joined us, he actually expressed a little bit of trepidation, not because he wasn't a good musician. He's a terrific guitar player. But Dave's comment was, I'm almost afraid of joining because I know that if I want to do this right, that I'm going to be going down the PROG rabbit hole, and it's going to impact me as far as obligations to the family and my time to work with them or to do things with them from time to time. In that regard, definitely give some consideration before you start on a project of this nature. Even if you're a good musician, there may be limitations to what you can do. Point number 3, be prepared to spend a bit of money in getting your equipment and your sound right. All musical instruments cost a bit of money, to be sure. But if you're going to play prog rock right, you need to put the equipment in place that will allow you to get the sounds that your idols have achieved in the music and the recordings that they've made that you're trying to emulate. As a bass guitarist, for example, I tried to work for a fairly long time with other brands of basses before I recognized that the only way I was going to get the sound of a Rickenbacker bass was to purchase one. In this day and age, what with changes in the economy, tariffs, and the like, Rickenbacker basses now list at $2,250 as of this recording. They are expensive. And at this point, I have more than one of them because you always need a backup if you're going to be playing out. And that's just one example. Guitarists need to get the proper arsenal of Stratocasters and Les Pauls. Keyboard players have the same types of considerations when it comes to Moog synthesizers, Korgs, Yamahas, and so forth. If you're serious about this music, chances are you may have the equipment already. But again, remember there's consideration for the rabbit hole and how much time you can put in. Fairly early on in interviewing candidates for Legion, I encountered someone online who lives not too far from us, who apparently has been playing music for about the last 50 years. And this individual in particular had an original Mini Moog purchased in 1971, as well as an early model Mellotron in his collection of instruments. Hearing this made me think, oh, this man is a live one. I'm sure he'll want to work with us. And he was very interested until we began talking about repertoire. He asked what songs we wanted him to learn how to play for an audition. And I mentioned several of the songs that the band was working on at the time, including Pink Floyd's Dogs, 17 minutes in length, King Crimson's Starless, 12 and a half minutes in length, and Genesis's Watcher of the Skies, the easy one, quote unquote, at 7.5 minutes. The gentleman, after a long pause on the telephone, came back and said, "Wow, you guys are playing some really hard..." And I laughed at that comment, thinking, this man's been around. He knows what we're doing. He knows what he's going to have to invest in this. And, you know, if he really doesn't feel he can do that, that's okay. We'll find someone else. Actually, this individual has become a good friend of the band. He's come to our shows on numerous occasions, so everything has worked out for the best. Tip number 4, be prepared for rejection, because you will experience quite a lot of it. Over the course of Legion's history, we have learned the hard way that we need to be flexible in pursuing our venue opportunities. Our band is located in central New Jersey by the Jersey Shore area, an area that has a very large stable of rock musicians who have come from it over the course of the years, between Bruce Springsteen, Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes, and during the hair metal years of the 1980s, Bon Jovi, Cinderella, and Sebastian Bach's band, Skid Row. The venues in this area are into party music. We found the hard way that they're generally not interested in music that requires people to sit down and listen in order to take it in. Also, when you're starting out and playing in the bar circuit, there's another consideration. which is the age of the audience that this music is likely to attract. Prog rock is an older music form now. Even the most recent prog rock songs that would be called hits are about 40 years old. And so the audience for this music is a bit older. Older audiences typically don't buy as much food and especially not as much alcohol in a venue. And that's a turn-off for venues and promoters too. But you are going to have to find ways to get yourself in front of people. And at least in the early days of the band, more so than other types of cover bands, you'll need to get creative. It may require playing showcases or playing venues that you might rather not at fees that you generally would consider somewhat insulting. But getting yourself in front of people ultimately will open doors for you if you do it smartly and often enough. For this type of music, ultimately you will want to play at larger clubs or theaters. And that's something that you can't do on day one. Larger venues expect a track record. They want to know that if they hire you, that you'll be able to bring in a reasonable crowd to where it will pay for them to have put you on stage that night, that not only the band, but that they can make a profit. And so building your resume is very important. For us, we found that once we were able to get 2 good venues behind us, 1 good cabaret and 1 small theater, that we were off to the races, with others offering us opportunities. But even at that, it didn't just drop into our laps. It required work. It required us to be sending out a lot of emails, a lot of letters of introduction, going to venues to introduce ourselves, with the expectation that most of those interactions were going to come to nothing. Trying to market a rock band, and especially a prog rock band, is sort of like being a traveling salesman or a salesman making cold calls. Expect that you're not going to get very much success. I found personally that if I got as much as 15 to 20% response on emails or other outreaches I made to venues, that I considered that as being successful, that I was at least touching a nerve and developing some level of interest. But ultimately, expect that you'll convert 10% or less of the opportunities that you identify as being worthwhile for the band to pursue. And that leads to tip number 5. Learn the business end. When you're dealing with larger venues, there are considerations that you need to be aware of that go beyond your being paid several $100s cash for playing at the local pub. Larger venues expect that you will sign contracts, that you will make commitments in writing. There are going to be situations sometimes where they will ask that you make special considerations to include specific songs in your repertoire. We've had, in Legion's case, in a recent example, where a venue came to us and said that they wanted us to devote 1 full set to an individual band, which is something that we don't typically do. We're not a dyed-in-the-wool tribute band that focuses on any single prog rock band. One of the things we feel makes ourselves special is that we're able to play across a fairly wide spectrum of the genre. But this promoter associated with this venue was somewhat adamant, saying that for a first gig there, he wanted to make sure that he could market the date successfully, and he felt that the only way to do that was for us to do something of a tribute act. Some promoters have interesting and sometimes odd expectations, and some of them would prefer to market a band who is a single band tribute simply because it's easier for them to do. I literally had one venue come to me not all that long ago when I presented Legion to him saying, "I love the music you're doing, but I can't use you because I can't promote it in a successful way. If you guys were a Journey tribute and your lead singer dressed up like Steve Perry, I could use you 4 times a year. but not with the repertoire you're playing. And that's a decision that is valid on his part, I suppose. I don't agree with him in the sense that I think most people who are, in this day and age, still fans of prog rock like multiple flavors of prog to the point where they don't need to be assaulted by a band pretending to be Journey or Rush or anyone else for that matter. But it's a matter of what you want to do and what you feel your band will be most successful as presenting, as well as what your band can market. There are several bands in our area here in New Jersey where they will market themselves as a tribute to one band on one night and a different band with a different repertoire on another night. They feel they need to in order to be successful from a business perspective, and that works for them, and that's fine. Again, something to consider. Tip number 6 is to network. To be successful in any business, one needs to build a network of contacts. And while that's done somewhat differently today with the technology that's available to us with social media, through things like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and X, nevertheless, the networking is still required. Our band uses all of those platforms in order to get our message across. We also have a full-blown website of our own with various products, things like t-shirts and mugs and so forth that can be made to order for our fans at their request. We also make a point of going to see other bands who play this type of music, who play in the area. We don't view these bands as competition because, quite frankly, there aren't all that many prog rock bands out there. Over the course of time, the guys in Legion have gotten to know the guys in the other bands who are working this turf. And for the most part, the guys in these bands are willing to share their contacts and their tips and their experiences in terms of how to be successful. Bands like ours are helping to keep this music alive. The guys in our quote-unquote competition recognize that, and people who are fans of our band are generally fans of the other bands that are out there working from weekend to weekend as well. Their success ultimately becomes our success, and keeping in touch, sharing experiences, is a way through which we can all benefit. Our last tip, number 7, is be prepared to travel just a little bit. I made the point earlier about the fact that there were not very many venues in our band's home turf in central New Jersey that are interested in hosting us. But we've been able to find the ones that are and work with them fairly regularly. But in order to build a larger profile for the band, we've needed to do some traveling outside of short-term driving distance. We play in New Jersey. We do play in central New Jersey, but we also play in northern New Jersey, southern New Jersey, Philadelphia, Delaware, and have considered gigs that, if they are lucrative enough, are even farther away still. The way a band can become successful is to build its fan base. And that is done through playing out. That is done through networking. That is done through keeping in touch with your fans and understanding what it is they're looking for and how to make them happy. In hearing these 7 tips, I can imagine that some of you are listening to my comments here and thinking, wow, that's a lot of work to do here. Obviously, it's a lot more than just playing the music. Is it worth it? And my answer is, that depends on you. For us, I think we recognized going into this work with this band that it was going to take a fair amount of work to do it right, and that we were never going to become wealthy from it. What we wanted was a sense of accomplishment, that we did it and that we can do it well, and that we were able to build a network of fans who were loyal to us in the process. And in that regard, we've been terrifically successful. I've had a blast, and I can't really picture the last 8 years of my life without the band having been in it. Hopefully I'll live long enough to enjoy another 8 years and then some with these guys. It's a great group of people and one hell of a lot of fun. Anyway, that is all for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it as always. If you enjoyed the content on this one, by all means, please hit like. Please feel free to leave comments and ask any questions or provide your own observations. I know that quite a few people who watch this channel are musicians in their own right. I'm definitely interested in hearing some of your experiences as well. Of course, if you haven't yet subscribed to Progpaganda, by all means, please do that as well. We're here at least once, sometimes twice a week with new content. We hope to see you again in the future. You take good care. Bye-bye.